Dwayne spends the long evening comforting his mother, her eyes still red and swollen from tears. Less than 12 hours ago, she buried him, or at least the man she believed was him. The pain of that moment still lingers in her gaze, a weight he feels deeply but cannot undo. He knows this is the only way to keep her safe, but the knowledge doesn't make it any easier. Sitting beside her in the quiet of their hidden refuge, Dwayne holds her hand, his grip firm but reassuring. His voice is low, steady, each word chosen with care. "Mom," he begins softly, meeting her eyes, "I know what I did was cruel. I know it hurt you in a way I'll never be able to fix, but it was the only way to protect you. If I didn't, they would have used you to get to me. I couldn't let that happen." Her lip trembles as she exhales shakily. "Dwayne, I thought I'd lost you. Standing there, looking at that casket, it broke something in me. And now you're here, alive, but I don't know how to feel." "I know," he says gently, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "I hate that I had to put you through that, but this is the only way to keep you safe. The people we're dealing with, they don't play by any rules. If they even thought you were a way to get to me, they'd come after you. Here, no one knows where you are. No one can touch you. You're safe." She shakes her head, tears spilling over. "Safe? I just buried my son. I can't even grieve because you're sitting here alive telling me I need to hide." Dwayne leans forward, his voice firmer but no less kind. "Mom, listen to me. I'm doing this because I love you, because you're the most important person in my life. This place, it's hidden, it's secure, and the people here, they're fighting for something bigger than all of us. You'll see. I'll show you when you're ready, but for now, I need you to trust me. Please." She studies him, her expression a mix of anger, heartbreak, and love. "I do trust you, Dwayne. I always have. But this is too much. You've sacrificed so much already. How much more do they want from you?" "As much as it takes," he replies without hesitation. "Because it's not just for me, Mom. It's for people like us. People who never get a fair chance, who are always a target. This fight, it's the only way I can make sure no one else has to go through what we have." She exhales deeply, her shoulders slumping. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for what you did, but I understand why you did it." "That's all I need," he says softly. "And when you're ready, I'll show you everything. The garden here, it's beautiful. It reminds me of the roses you used to grow. We can plant some together." Her lips curve into the faintest of smiles at the memory. "Roses, maybe." "You will," he assures her. "We'll make this place a home, I promise." The exhaustion in her eyes finally overtakes her, and she leans against him, her breathing evening out. He helps her to her feet and guides her to the cot in the corner. "Rest now," he whispers. "I'll be here." She grips his hand one last time, her voice soft but resolute. "Don't you dare leave me again." "Never," he promises, watching over her as she drifts into sleep. Dwayne wakes early, careful not to disturb his mother. By 7 a.m. sharp, he steps into the control room, his posture composed, his expression focused. Max is already at his station, fingers flying over keyboards, the hum of code filling the air. The energy in the room is electric, a collective determination radiating from every corner. Dwayne pauses in the doorway, taking in the scene. These people are more than a team. They're a lifeline, united by a cause bigger than themselves. Max glances up and nods in acknowledgement. "Morning, Dwayne." "You're just in time. We've got some updates." The room was lined with monitors, each one displaying surveillance feeds and the live status of agents out in the field. Dwayne's eyes roved over the screens, absorbing the weight of the moment. Each feed represented a person putting their life on the line for justice, for a chance to be seen by a system that too often looked past them unless they served its purpose. This was bigger than any one of them, and they all knew it. On Saturday morning, February 22nd, the air in the city was still, an eerie quiet settling over the hospital grounds as the sun cast its pale winter light through the windows. Dwayne sat in the control room, eyes locked on the multiple screens displaying various camera feeds. Every detail mattered today, and he knew that with Kendall's expertise and training, they were dealing with a ghost in plain sight. "Deuce, status report," Dwayne commanded, the tension in his voice apparent to everyone around him. "Current surveillance shows Agent Kendall in his standard position at the dialysis ward. He's been confirmed as the primary dialysis technician assigned to the patient of interest, who has arrived for his routine treatment, Deuce replied, its mechanical voice calm, processing data faster than any human could. The hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina, is an imposing structure with a modern design that seamlessly blends functionality with aesthetics. It stands tall against the skyline, its steel and glass exterior gleaming under the soft February sun. The building's reflective facade mirrors the scattered clouds and distant blue sky, making it appear almost ethereal. The climate on this February day is cool but pleasant, with temperatures hovering around 52 degrees. A light breeze rustles the bare branches of the trees lining the streets, hinting at the early stirrings of spring. The entrance to the hospital is flanked by meticulously maintained shrubs and small patches of winter-resistant flowers that add a touch of warmth to the otherwise clinical atmosphere. Large automatic glass doors open to reveal a lobby filled with natural light streaming in from the floor-to-ceiling windows. The ambient hum of patient and staff movement, soft conversations, and distant paging announcements create a constant undercurrent of activity. Inside, the hallways are lined with pale, calming colors and subtle wood accents designed to foster a sense of peace for visitors and patients alike. The building's multi-story layout includes various specialized care units marked by clear, bold signage to guide visitors through its maze-like corridors. The dialysis ward is positioned on an upper floor, with panoramic windows offering a view of the bustling cityscape and the nearby wooded areas that give Charlotte its characteristic blend of urban and natural charm. The interior environment is clean and relaxed, with the scent of antiseptics subtly present. The air carries a quiet hum from the HVAC system, maintaining a comfortable temperature for patients and staff throughout the day. The dialysis ward was a serene yet busy section of the hospital, designed with patient comfort in mind while maintaining a professional, sterile atmosphere. The room was spacious, illuminated by the soft, natural light that filtered through large windows spanning an entire wall. From these windows, patients had a view of the city skyline interspersed with patches of trees, their leafless branches stretching skyward on this crisp February day. The light created a warm contrast against the otherwise clinical white and light blue of the room's interior. The air carried the faint scent of disinfectant, mixed with the subtle hum of medical equipment, machines rhythmically beeping and whirring as they performed their life-sustaining duties. The walls were decorated with soft art pieces depicting calming landscapes, chosen to provide comfort and distraction to patients during their long, tedious hours of treatment. Rows of recliner chairs, each equipped with personal tables and trim built-in screens, were spaced evenly along the walls. The chairs were padded and slightly worn, evidence of their constant use. The ward was busy but managed, with nurses moving efficiently between patients, their soft-soled shoes making minimal noise on the polished linoleum floors. Monitors on each chair displayed the patient's vitals, a real-time measure of their progress that the staff kept a vigilant eye on. The atmosphere was quiet, save for the low murmur of conversations among patients or between patients and their visitors. The staff, dressed in standard medical scrubs, wore a mixture of professional focus and warm smiles, trying to ease the monotony of treatment with light-hearted conversation when possible. The far end of the ward housed a tiny nurse's station, a semi-enclosed space with a counter cluttered with charts, tablets, and other medical tools. Here, staff coordinated their rounds and updated patient records, the screens in the station displaying medical data and various alerts. Despite the sterile and structured environment, the ward carried an undercurrent of human resilience and quiet camaraderie. Patients nodded to each other in silent acknowledgement, sharing in their collective struggle. Today, however, there was an unusual energy in the room, a sense of heightened awareness, as though the space was waiting for something to unfold just beyond the usual routine. As the primary dialysis technician at the facility, Kendall played an essential role that blended technical skills, compassionate patient care, and an ability to adapt to the high demands of a medical environment seamlessly. The dialysis ward itself buzzed with quiet, methodical energy, a sterile, brightly lit room lined with machines humming gently as they processed the blood of patients whose lives depended on them. Kendall moved confidently within this space, the polished floors reflecting the crisp white of his uniform as he navigated from one station to the next. Kendall's daily routine began before the first patient arrived. The pre-treatment hours were dedicated to preparing the dialysis equipment, a process that required meticulous attention. He would assemble the machines, calibrating each to the exact specifications needed for that day's treatments. His fingers, deft and practiced, moved quickly over the dials and tubing, checking for any sign of malfunction. The faint smell of cleaners lingered as he ensured everything was sterilized to exacting standards, preventing any risk of infection for his patients. When patients began trickling in, many recognized Kendall immediately, offering tired smiles as he guided them to their designated chairs. For some, the sight of him brought reassurance. His presence had become a constant amid the uncertainty of their medical challenges. Connecting each patient to the machine was a careful dance, punctuated by the clinical snap of latex gloves and the quiet, rhythmic beep of equipment. Kendall inserted needles with precision, securing the lines with an ease that came from years of experience. The job was more than technical. It required empathy and a keen eye. Kendall knew which patients preferred small talk and which ones needed quiet. He could sense anxiety before it surfaced, and responded with either a soft word or a patient silence. He monitored their vital signs closely, watching blood pressure readings and heart rate monitors with a practiced eye, ready to intervene at the slightest sign of distress. To those watching, his calmness was almost unnerving, a testament to his training and control. Kendall's presence in the ward was one of subtle dominance. He was a fixture in the facility, a pillar that both patients and colleagues depended on. Between treatments, he would meticulously clean and reset the equipment, moving with a level of care that suggested a deeper investment in the process than just a job. His sharp and observant gaze could catch even the faintest irregularity in the machinery or in a patient's condition. As Kendall worked, there was an air of quiet efficiency that surrounded him. The other staff members respected his command of the ward and often deferred to his expertise without question. Patients sometimes remarked that he had an almost uncanny ability to sense when something was off, an instinct that was as much a part of him as the skills he had learned. But there was more to Kendall than met the eye. Beneath the composed exterior lay a man whose abilities reached beyond what anyone in the ward could fathom. His technical expertise and impeccable bedside manner were only facets of a far more complex identity. In addition to being a skilled technician, Kendall possessed extensive medical knowledge that far exceeded what was required of him, making him an enigma to those who tried to understand him. And while his role in the ward was crucial, it was what lay beyond the sterile walls of the clinic that defined him. A man hidden in plain sight, capable of blending seamlessly into any environment while holding a secret that only the sharpest minds would dare to uncover. Officer Trent Baker is a man in his late 50s with a solid, imposing frame that once served him well during his years on the force. Time and the burdens of his past have left visible marks on him. His once sharp, commanding presence has softened under the strain of regret and physical decline. His face, still ruggedly handsome with strong cheekbones and a square jaw, now carries the hollowed look of someone who has seen and endured too much. Deep-set eyes, once alert and vigilant, now appear tired, shadowed by dark circles and a dull, resigned expression. As a patient, Baker is stoic, rarely showing discomfort despite the grueling nature of dialysis treatment. His broad shoulders slump slightly as he sits in the reclining chair, tubes connecting him to the humming machine that filters his blood. The sterile smell of antiseptic and the rhythmic beeping of monitors punctuate the silence around him. His large hands, marked by old scars from past altercations, rest limply on the armrests. Though quiet, there is an edge of restlessness in him, a subtle tapping of fingers or a fleeting glance around the room as if expecting something to happen. Baker's interactions with the staff are minimal, limited to polite nods and a curt thank you when necessary. He prefers solitude, staring out of the window when the morning light slants through, illuminating the ward in a pale, almost ghostly glow. However, behind the hardened facade, there's a glimmer of vulnerability, a sense that he knows his past decisions have led him to this moment of fragility. In the rare moments when he speaks more than a few words, his voice is gravely, tinged with the regret of choices that can't be undone. The tension in the ward subtly rises whenever Baker is present, as if everyone there senses the unspoken stories that hang around him like an unseen shroud. He is both a patient in need and a man haunted by his history, a combination that keeps the air around him charged and wary. Dwayne leaned forward, fingers steepled under his chin. Aaron's and Jesse's live feeds were clear on the screen, showing them stationed precisely as planned. Aaron was seated in the public waiting room, flipping through a magazine with an air of casual disinterest, but his eyes darted up every so often, alert and ready. Jesse, positioned near the nurse's station, made light conversation with a nearby nurse, his gaze occasionally shifting toward the ward entrance. In the ward, Kendall moved with practiced efficiency, setting up the patient's dialysis treatment. His face was calm, his eyes focused, yet there was tension in his movements that only someone as trained as Dwayne could detect. This man was skilled, almost too comfortable under the guise of normalcy. It was clear he had planned every step meticulously. "Jesse, maintain your position. Aaron, be ready to engage with key phrases if needed," Dwayne instructed through their earpieces. The two acknowledged without a hint of hesitation, their breathing steady, their gazes locked in the moment. The room hummed with a low, constant buzz from the monitors, and Max's tech team worked quietly in the background, their murmured conversations blending into white noise. Dwayne's focus was razor-sharp, his mind piecing together fragments of information like a complex puzzle. "Deuce," he said, his voice steady but edged with urgency. "Give me a detailed analysis of how Kendall might have contributed to Officer Baker's kidney failure. What methods or substances could he have used, and what access would he need to ensure Baker stays in deteriorating health?" There was a slight pause, the briefest moment as Deuce processed the request. The AI's voice responded, calm and measured. "Agent Kendall, if his expertise is in covert medical practices and manipulation, he could have used a variety of methods. Based on historical data and known techniques, it's plausible that he introduced a nephrotoxic agent, either through Baker's food, medication, or intravenous fluids during routine treatments. Given Kendall's position as a dialysis technician, he would have unrestricted access to medical supplies and the patient's treatment records, allowing him to adjust the dosage and timing to ensure Baker's condition remained critical." Dwayne's eyes narrowed as he absorbed the information. The room seemed to shrink around him, the implications tightening like a vice on his chest. Deuce continued. To maintain Baker's deteriorating health, Kendall could have manipulated treatment protocols subtly, under-dialyzing or infusing saline with trace elements of nephrotoxic agents. Adjustments to prescribed medications could also be made under the guise of routine treatment, and his position would allow him to cover his tracks effectively. The data flashed on the monitor, showing potential chemical compounds and their effects. Dwayne's jaw clenched as he ran a hand through his hair, the weight of the discovery settling like a stone in his gut. "So he's been playing a long game," Dwayne muttered to himself, eyes never leaving the screen. "He put Baker here, kept him here, and is waiting for the right moment." "Affirmative," Deuce replied. "The precision and control required for such a prolonged operation suggest deep expertise and unwavering commitment." Dwayne's gaze hardened. He knew now that Kendall wasn't just another operative carrying out orders. He was an expert with a personal mission, a specter moving through the system, shaping outcomes one deliberate step at a time. And stopping him would require every ounce of strategy and intuition Dwayne possessed. As Kendall adjusted the patient's IV line, the subtle sound of shoes on polished linoleum caught his attention. He looked up, eyes flickering just enough for Dwayne to notice on the feed. The glance was quick and suspicious, but Kendall masked it with a neutral expression. Jesse turned and pretended to check his watch, eyes meeting Kendall's for the briefest second. There was recognition there. Kendall knew them. "Kendall's clocked us," Dwayne muttered, voice low as he studied the screen. Aaron stood, stretching as if he were just another family member passing time. He walked over to the vending machine, positioned directly in Kendall's line of sight. The casual gesture was their signal, a silent message unmistakable to those trained in their world. Kendall's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, he paused in his work. His jaw clenched, the only visible sign that he was processing the situation. "Kendall, the mission is off," Aaron said, the tone of his voice light as though he were talking to no one in particular. The phrase was coded, subtle but powerful. Kendall's body tenses for a fraction of a second before he exhales, the faintest smile playing at the corner of his lips. He understands. With controlled precision, he disconnects the dialysis machine and stands, excusing himself from the ward. Jesse and Aaron exchange glances, their cues synchronized. Kendall makes his way toward the staff break room, his movements unhurried, but Dwayne notices the determination in his eyes. Aaron follows a beat later, his posture relaxed, though every muscle in his body is coiled and ready to spring into action. "Soft containment initiated," Deuce intones. Dwayne watches as plainclothes operatives subtly position themselves along the corridor, creating an invisible barrier to guide Kendall toward a more secure location without drawing attention. In the break room, Kendall leans against the counter, arms crossed, as Aaron and another agent enters. The door clicks softly shut behind him. For a moment, the two men lock eyes, the silence punctuated by the faint hum of the vending machine in the corner. "It's over," Aaron says, his voice steady but firm. "We need to talk." Kendall's eyes scan Aaron's face, searching for any hint of deceit. His mouth twitches, a faint smile forming. "You know it's never over, not until I say so," he replies, his voice low and sharp. Before Aaron can respond, Jesse appears in the doorway, blocking the exit with a casual stance. "It's over, bruh. We have a new director with new directions and a completely new perspective. We need to reassess," Jesse says, his tone light but laced with an undertone of command. Kendall's eyes dart between the two men, calculating and weighing his options. After a long, tense moment, he exhales slowly and nods. "Then let's reassess," he says, the tension in his posture easing slightly. The tension shatters in an instant. Kendall's nod of compliance is a feint. In a blur of movement, he lunges at the nearest agent. His motions are fluid and precise. The agent barely reacts before Kendall's fist connects with his jaw, sending him sprawling onto the break room floor. The remaining agents from the hallway move in quickly, but Kendall is faster. His movements become a lethal dance honed by years of training and deep cover assignments. Aaron surges forward, instincts kicking in as he intercepts Kendall. They exchange blows, each strike echoing with the dull thud of bone meeting bone. Aaron lands a solid punch, but Kendall absorbs it without breaking rhythm. He sidesteps, using Aaron's momentum against him, and delivers a swift kick to his ribs, forcing the air from Aaron's lungs. Aaron staggers back, gasping, as Kendall uses the moment to take down Jesse with a series of quick, calculated blows. One by one, the agents fall. Kendall's mastery of hand-to-hand combat is undeniable. Each movement is deliberate, each attack designed to incapacitate rather than kill. He maneuvers through the room with precision, leaving the operatives scrambling to recover. Dwayne's voice crackles urgently through their earpieces, shouting commands and urging them to contain Kendall. Aaron pushes himself to his feet, regaining his breath, and charges again. Kendall is ready. He sidesteps deftly, driving an elbow into Aaron's back and sending him face first onto the floor. Without hesitation, Kendall sprints out of the break room, heading for the nearest exit. "Get him!" Jesse yells, but Kendall is already at the door. The chase spills into a more populated area at the back of the hospital, where staff and patients mingle, oblivious to the danger. Containment is no longer an option. Kendall sprints through the crowded hospital corridors, weaving expertly between staff and patients. His sharp eyes scan every exit, calculating his next move. Behind him, agents shout commands, their footsteps pounding against the polished floors. Kendall remains calm, his breathing controlled as he reaches a stairwell and takes the steps two at a time, his movements precise and practiced. Dwayne watches the pursuit unfold on his tablet, live feeds from his operatives streaming in real time. His jaw tightens as Kendall evades another pair of agents stationed near a secondary hallway. "He's heading for the south exit," Dwayne says into his comms. Teams 3 and 4, cut him off. Sniper, get into position. On the ground, Jesse races through a parallel corridor, signaling Aaron to cover the west wing. Aaron nods, breaking into a sprint toward the service elevators. Both men move with purpose, determined to corral Kendall before he reaches his getaway vehicle. Kendall bursts into the hospital's lower levels, pushing through a set of double doors that lead to the rear parking lot. The cool February air greets him, his breath visible as he glances around. His stash car is parked just a few rows away, hidden between two unmarked vans. He starts toward it, zigzagging to avoid drawing a clear line of sight. From his vantage point on a rooftop, the sniper adjusts his scope, tracking Kendall's movements. Target in sight, the sniper reports, his voice calm and professional. Hold until he's in the open, Dwayne replies, his tone steady but firm. He switches his focus to the extraction team waiting nearby. Team 5, stand by. Move as soon as the target is down. Kendall ducks behind a parked car, his sharp eyes darting around the lot. He senses the trap closing in, but his confidence doesn't waver. He bolts toward his stash car, dodging another pair of agents who dive to grab him and miss by inches. His speed and agility are unmatched, but his path is narrowing. Sniper now, Dwayne commands. The tranquilizer dart fires with a faint pop, cutting through the air with precision. Kendall is mid-stride when it hits him in the shoulder. He stumbles, his momentum faltering as his body reacts to the fast-acting sedative. His vision blurs and his legs give out beneath him. He crumples to the pavement, unconscious before he hits the ground. Target down, the sniper confirms. Move in, Dwayne orders. The extraction team rushes into the lot, securing Kendall and whisking him into an unmarked vehicle. Jesse and Aaron arrive moments later, their breathing heavy but steady. Dwayne's voice comes through their earpieces, calm and direct. Good work, everyone. Let's wrap up here. Jesse, Aaron, you're heading to North Carolina. I want you spearheading the Fletch case. The team there needs leadership, and I trust you'll handle it. Aaron wipes the sweat from his brow, nodding as he exchanges a glance with Jesse. Understood, he says. Jesse cracks a small smile. Looks like we're not getting a break anytime soon. Not today, Dwayne replies with a faint chuckle. Briefing is in 2 hours. Get moving. As the agents disperse, the extraction vehicle pulls away, carrying Kendall toward a secure facility. Dwayne watches the live feed from the operations command center, satisfaction etched on his face. He knows the mission isn't over. There are still questions to answer and more battles ahead, but for now, they've gained the upper hand. Kendall is safe. Officer Baker and Murchison are safe, and the team is already pivoting to their next objective. Turning to Max, Dwayne speaks with measured authority. Send a message to Agent Naim Nuruddin at the Alabama field office. Let him know Officer Baker's condition has been confirmed at the dialysis clinic and that his medical condition may have been induced. Also, inform him that we are heading to North Carolina to follow up on the case we flagged last week. Max nods, already inputting the details. I'll make sure he gets it. Deuce interjects, his voice calm yet efficient. I already have a message prepared. If you'd like, I can send it now. Max acknowledges with a chuckle. Yeah, go ahead. Deuce processes the message and dispatches it seamlessly, routing it through encrypted channels. The team continues their preparations, unaware of the unseen observer monitoring their communication. Dwayne leans back in his chair, the hum of the command center fading into the background as he allows himself a rare moment of reflection. The live feed flickers off, replaced by a map of ongoing operations and reports streaming in, but his thoughts linger on the faces of the people they've saved today. Innocent lives, spared from becoming casualties in a battle they never asked to fight. He exhales slowly, his mind turning to the weight of the decisions he's made. In a world that so often demands sacrifice, he's managed to find a way to win without bloodshed. Kendall is retrieved, the threat neutralized, and not a single life lost. It's not just a victory, it's a reminder of why he does this. Today we made a difference, he thinks, his fingers steepled as he stares at the screen. No one had to die to make it happen. No families will get a call saying their loved ones didn't make it. That's a win I'll take every time. His chest tightens briefly as the memory of past missions surfaces, times when the cost was far greater. Lives lost, names etched into his memory like scars. He's learned to carry the weight of those moments, but they've shaped him, driving him to find another way, a way that doesn't require destruction to build something better. The buzz of the room grows louder again, voices exchanging updates, strategies being refined for the next mission. Dwayne's focus sharpens, his resolve solidifying. They'll keep going, keep fighting, but for today, he allows himself to savor this moment. "We saved them," he murmurs under his breath, the words grounding him. "We did it without taking lives. That's how it should be." The hunt continues, and there will be more threats, more challenges. But in this moment, Dwayne feels a sense of peace, however fleeting. They've gained the upper hand, and he's reminded that sometimes the greatest victories are the ones where no one has to lose. Meanwhile, at the FBI's Anniston office, the air is tense with recovery efforts. After the EMP left them in the dark for hours, operations are slowly returning to full momentum. Monitors blink back to life, their steady hum filling the room as agents and technicians bustle through the maze of desks. Sunlight pours through tall windows, casting long beams across polished floors, while the tang of freshly printed reports mingles with the scent of overheated electronics. Emily Hayden has placed Gena Walker in charge of coordinating the recovery efforts, solidifying the chain of command. Mr. Tennis, who had served as interim coordinator during the chaos, now reports directly to Gena. "Tennis," Gena snaps, her sharp eyes locking on him. "I want a status report, now." Tennis straightens, his expression tense but focused. Surveillance feeds are back online, and communications are operating at 80% efficiency. The remaining systems should be fully functional within the hour. Gena nods curtly and turns her attention to her laptop. She plugs in a USB drive that allows for her to access Dallon remotely, the sophisticated program humming to life. Dallon, ever vigilant, intercepts the message en route to Agent Naim Nuruddin. The AI analyzes its contents with precision. Officer Baker's condition confirmed at the dialysis clinic, possible medical tampering. Dwayne, heading to North Carolina for case follow-up. The system cross-references the details against active case files and internal patterns, identifying potential connections that align with larger threats under investigation even before Gena can ask. Dallon, cross-reference Officer Baker. "What case was he connected to?" she commands. Dallon responds instantly, its synthetic voice crisp. "Officer Trent Baker was involved in the case of Oliver Gant in Oakland, California. The incident involved a fatal escalation during a police response. Secondary officer involved, Jared Murchison." Gena leans forward, her pulse quickening. "What is Baker's current location?" "Officer Trent Baker is currently a patient at Dialysis Center in Oakland, California," Dallon replies. "An incident was reported at that location earlier today involving Aaron and Jesse Weaver. In addition to that, I intercepted an encrypted message intended for Agent Naim Nuruddin relative to Officer Baker earlier today." The information sends a chill through Gena. Pull surveillance footage from the center, review and report back. Seconds later, Dallon's voice returns. "Analysis complete. The footage does indeed show Aaron and Jesse Weaver engaging with dialysis technician Kendall Marks at the center. Notably, Jesse Weaver was presumed deceased following an incident involving Agent Dwayne Williams. The implications ripple through Gena's mind. She sits back, her face shadowed by the glow of the screen. "So Jesse's alive? And what's this Kendall guy's connection?" "Dallon, compile everything we have on both Officer Trent Baker and Officer Jared Murchison. Forward it to Emily Hayden. I need actionable intel." As Dallon processes the request, Gena steels herself for the next step. The pieces are falling into place, but the path ahead grows more dangerous with each revelation. There's no turning back now. Dallon interrupts her thoughts with more information. "Would you like for me to read the message in its entirety?" "Yes," Gena replies with a brisk and angered tone. Dallon's voice echoes as he speaks. "Officer Trent Baker is in a dialysis clinic in Oakland, California. His medical condition was induced by an agent. Please inform Emily and have your team to pull Baker's medical records. Maybe his condition is reversible. We are heading to Lake Norman in North Carolina to follow up on a case we flagged last week." Gena's pulse races as the revelation hits her. The room seems to shrink around her, the implications striking her like a blow. Her eyes widen as the video feed loads on her screen, showing Aaron and, unmistakably, Jesse moving through the dialysis center. The realization feels like a punch. Jesse is alive. And if Jesse is alive, Dwayne must be too. And it's probably Dwayne who is sending messages to Naeem. Naeem walks by her office just as Gena snaps her head up. "Naeem!" she barks, her tone cutting through the air like a blade. He pauses, his eyes guarded. "What's going on, Gena?" he asks, his voice calm but wary. Her frustration simmers just below the surface. "I need answers, and I need them now. Dwayne is alive, isn't he?" Naeem's expression doesn't change, but the subtle tightening of his jaw betrays him. "You need to talk to Director Hayden, not me," he replies, his tone clipped and even. Gena's frustration boils over. She shoves back her chair and waves Naeem out of her office. Once he's gone, she grabs her phone and dials Emily Hayden directly, her jaw set with frustration and urgency. "Why am I the last to know that Dwayne is alive?" Gena demands, slamming her hand on the desk. "And what are Aaron and Jesse doing involved in this operation? Jesse and Dwayne are supposed to be dead." Emily exhales slowly, her voice calm but firm. "Calm down, Gena," she says, her glare icy. "Yes, Dwayne is alive," Emily confirms. "He's sort of a double agent. Truthfully, we needed someone on the inside of that network, and if Dwayne is there, then that's a good play for us." Gena's mind spins. "Why was I kept in the dark?" Emily's tone hardens. "Because the fewer people who know, the safer he is. Your reaction proves why that decision was necessary." Gena swallows the sting of betrayal and forces herself to focus. "And what is he doing over there? Are we working for him now? Does he still work for us? Does he know about me?" Emily's brows knit together, her voice measured. "Some of that we can figure out. There's more at play than we know, but he's still undercover. We have to proceed with caution." Gena's jaw tightens. "I'm not waiting. I'm going to find him, Jesse and Aaron, and I'll bring them back here. Dwayne's intel pointed us to this. Maybe he's signaling for help." Emily hesitates, but finally nods. "Proceed carefully. We agreed not to interfere unless necessary. This requires precision." Once the call ends, Gena turns to her computer. "Dallin, I need surveillance on Jesse and Aaron Weaver. Where are they now?" Dallin's synthetic voice responds promptly. "Processing. Both Jesse and Aaron Weaver were seen boarding a private plane at the airport. The plane is registered to an unknown LLC based in Michigan. Its flight itinerary indicates it is en route to Charlotte, North Carolina." Gena straightens, her resolve hardening. "Then that's where we're going," she declares, her frustration fueling her urgency. "Daylon, give me every case and reference to any cases in the database that mention Lake Norman, Charlotte, or any of the cities in the vicinity. Cross-reference officers, witnesses, victims, give me everything. I will review on the plane." As she storms out of her office, she passes Naeem, throwing him a sharp look. "I'm not happy with you." Naeem meets her glare unflinchingly. "Well, too bad. You're not my boss." Without another word, Gena strides out, rallying her team for an immediate departure to North Carolina. Dwayne's phone buzzes in the control room, the subtle vibration cutting through the hum of monitors and keyboards. Glancing at the screen, he reads the message from Naeem. "Gena knows you're alive. She's heading to North Carolina." His jaw tightens, the weight of the situation settling on him. He rubs a hand across his face, narrowing his eyes as he considers his options. The room pulses with a sense of urgency, the quiet efficiency of his team mirroring his focus. "Max," he calls, his voice low but commanding. Max looks up from his workstation, his sharp eyes meeting Dwayne's. "We need to extract our operative from North Carolina before the FBI makes contact. We're on borrowed time." Max's fingers fly over his keyboard. "Patching into their route now," he says, a bead of sweat forming on his brow. "We'll need a clean extraction plan." Dwayne nods, his mind racing. "Deuce," he says, addressing the AI. "Analyze discrete extraction routes. No helicopters or vehicles that can be traced. Keep it low profile." "Analyzing surveillance gaps and available personnel," Deuce replies. "Recommendation, use local assets posing as delivery personnel for a ground-based extraction. Minimal visibility, maximum efficiency." Dwayne's eyes narrow as he considers the plan. "Good. Max, coordinate with the local team. We move as soon as Aaron and Jesse lands." As Max works, Dwayne shifts his focus. "Deuce, give me a status update on Fletch's last known movements. Profile him. I need to know his next likely move. Deuce processes the request, its voice calm and clinical. There are no recent sightings of operative Fletch. Profiling based on historical behavior suggests he will prioritize targets connected to the original case. Probability analysis indicates his next move will involve Officer Riley, currently isolated in a mountain region. Weather conditions may complicate travel, making this a time-sensitive target. Dwayne absorbs the information, his focus sharpening. He looks at his team, his voice steady but urgent. We know where Fletch is headed. He's going after Riley. Get eyes on Riley immediately. We're not losing anyone today. Max's jaw tightens and he nods. We'll tighten our surveillance and keep our approach subtle. No room for mistakes. Dwayne locks eyes with Marcus, appreciating the resolve etched in his face. Good. Remember, we need to be Fletch's shadow, anticipate his every move, and outmaneuver him. Stay sharp, stay hidden. We're not just chasing him, we're outthinking him. Someone update Aaron and Jesse while they're in the air. The room hums with focused energy as operatives move to their stations, coordinating every detail. Dwayne feels the weight of the mission pressing on him, but he welcomes it. This is a high-stakes game, and they're deep in it. The next move belongs to Fletch, but Dwayne is ready to counter. The enormity of the situation settles on him like a lead weight. He's wedged between two powerful forces. The FBI, relentless in their pursuit of justice and increasingly aggressive, and Fletch, a highly trained operative driven by his mission. Both sides are poised for a collision, and it's Dwayne's job to prevent it from becoming a tragedy. Deuce, Dwayne calls out, his eyes fixed on the wall of monitors displaying real-time data feeds. Keep tracking Fletch's projected movements and monitor all FBI comms in the area. I want to know the second they close in. Affirmative, the AI responds, its calm voice stark against the tension in the room. Marcus steps closer, his voice lowered so only Dwayne can hear. We're running out of time. If Fletch moves on Riley, we need to intercept without drawing attention. The FBI's presence complicates everything. Dwayne nods, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. Every step must be as precise as a surgeon's blade. One wrong move could spiral into violence. I know, Marcus, he says, his voice resolute, but no one is dying on my watch. Not Fletch, not the officers, and not our team. Across the room, Max calls out, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Dwayne, I'm tapping into local surveillance grids. I've got access to city cameras near Officer Riley's location. We can monitor for any unusual activity. Good work, Dwayne replies, his eyes sweeping over the gathered team. We'll need to be as invisible as Fletch. Precision and discretion are the priority. An open confrontation isn't an option. Marcus glances at Dwayne, his expression troubled. What if Fletch doesn't give us a choice? He's trained to finish the job, and he knows we're tracking him. Dwayne's jaw sets, his tone sharpening. Then we outthink him. We create a scenario where he has to choose between completing his mission and exposing himself. If he's as smart as we know, he'll take the safer route. We just have to make that route clear. The room floats with controlled energy. Agents speak into headsets, data streams across screens, and Deuce provides updates in real time. Each second feels heavier, the stakes climbing with every passing moment. Dwayne's heart pounds steadily, each beat a reminder of what's at risk. Riley's life, the team's safety, and the delicate balance with the FBI. Stepping back, Dwayne takes a moment to collect himself. His mother's words echo in his mind, grounding him. You were meant for more than just seeing the world as it is. You were meant to change it. He straightens, resolve hardening. Let's move, he says, his voice steely. We've got a mission to save everyone, and I mean everyone.